The Tom Brady situation. So he wanted to release his own message. He didn't want anybody else to do it for him. Darlington, who's inside of his camp, and Schefter decide to release that he's retiring before he can release his statement. Is that an accurate assessment of what's going on? And do you think Darlington's getting kicked out of the camp? And have you ever been in this type of situation before?
Okay. I would say, first of all, as far as like the veracity of the reports and what, like, I believe he plans to retire. So I don't think the story is wrong. And it's hard to imagine it would be, honestly. Like, we talked about it last week. Once someone starts talking about, I gotta do what's best for my family, I want to see my kids, like, I feel like most people knew that this was it and the greatest who ever played was probably not going to play again. I would say my sense of it is Brady wanted to do this himself. There is an as yet unreleased episode of Man in the Arena, which is incidentally also on ESPN Plus, that may or may not contain a retirement speech from Tom Brady. I'll be interested to see if it does, but everything Brady does is prepared and polished and really perfect. I mean, he's great at social media. His shows are great. He's surrounded himself with a really good team, and I imagine that this would have been very, very good. And this is how he wanted to do it himself, which is great. I mean, I feel like he should, he sort of earned it. And, life happens like that sometimes, so it just wasn't the case. And it got out,
Can we go back?
Can we go back? He's extremely upset about it.
Yeah, I don't think he's happy. But let's go back to what you said there. You said he feels like everybody knew he was going to retire. That was kind of new. Like, we literally did talk about it last week, and I think you said that. Are you saying that Schefter and Darlington kind of, they kind of pieced something as breaking news that everybody kind of assumed and almost just cut Tom Brady right out of his knees? What is that? Yeah. Why would they do that? Why would Darlington do that, you think?
I mean, I don't want to talk for Jeff because
Jeff, by the way, probably a good guy. Probably a good guy. We don't know. I don't know him that well.
He is a very good guy. And so it is news. I mean, it is news. Tom Brady retiring is news, and it's big news. So I don't know what went into their thought process. ESPN has said they stand by the reporting. I believe the reporting is right. But it is news, and I'm sure they had the discussion of, like, clearly Brady wants to do this himself. We know it's true. Should we just do it? I assume they had that. I was surprised at the reaction from Brady's camp because it was pretty. I mean, his dad was pretty upset. The agent, everybody seemed to be upset. But I imagine they reached out to them beforehand too. So it was, from my standpoint, like, it was. Of course, it was frustrating. Someone else has a very big story, but it was also fascinating to see how it played out, just from the initial splash and then the denials. But it's also going to be true, and Brady wanted to release it himself, and the people who reported it. This was all very, very interesting weekend.
Accumulation of information, right? Is that what we're saying?
I mean, well, I also want to say something else. You mentioned, like, did I think it was something? Well, we all kind of knew. Yes, I think we all did kind of know, but to be the one to say this is happening is big. Like that, It happens in trades and stuff too. Like, we all kind of think, Carson's going to the Colts or whatever. Sorry. But to be the one to say, like, this is happening in our world's a big deal.
Tom Brady's retiring.
Ooh. Is he?
I think so.
Are we waiting for the video? What are we doing?
Yes, I think that Shadow Line is at work right now. Maybe it's the Man in the Arena finale. Maybe it's the Let's Go podcast that's happening with Jim Gray right now.
Yeah.
Get your mortgage.
Yeah, that's the tough
All right, Tommy. So there was speculation this weekend by Jeff Darlington and Schefter about your retirement. Anything to say there? And then Tom will give some very long answer about, how much the game means to him and loves to him. And I think he'll loosely address it. I don't think the Let's Go podcast is going to be the finale. I might be wrong, but I don't think that's going to be the case. There's going to be a banger of a video that's going to hit the internet. It is going to
How long will it be?
Maybe 10, 50, maybe 10.
Dang, that's long.
10. He's going to have a lot to say. I mean,
it could be 5 hours. It's Tom Brady. But, like, how long does he know? Like, okay, how do we condense some of this?
Oh, you're saying maybe 5 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. Maybe that's...
it should be. 10 is fine. I think 10 would be good.
I think the interesting thing about it is we all know that he's pissed that he's not getting a chance to do this himself and that Jeff Darlington and Schefter just cucked the entire moment right there. I mean, they just cut it off.
What's Shefty saying? What's he been saying, like, with the whole situation?
ESPN is sticking by their reporting. I mean, day after all, there might have been disagreements on other platforms, and we know Tom's dad went and spoke somewhere, and Tom's agent released a message. ESPN has been pretty steadfast. We're confident in our reporting. We're going to stand by. The day afterwards, they actually led off SportsCenter with the Tom Brady retirement news after Rafa and Medvedev do this 5.5-hour clash in Australia where Rafa wins his 21st major, more than anybody. I mean, congrats, Rafa. I mean, that whole thing just happened, had the world talking about tennis. That never happens. I mean, there's only a couple different times. Rafa wins, becomes, the whole big deal. It's a massive ordeal. They lead off SportsCenter, Tom Brady to announce his retirement. It's like, well, everybody else is saying that they're not 100% sure if that's the case. They're trying to back off, let Tom have his moment. ESPN and Schefter and Darlington has just kind of, drifted off. But I think that's the reason why we believed it, is because Darlington was tagged in it, and Darlington's been in the Brady camp. So I think it's imminent, but I think Tom was not exactly, pumped that everybody else got to make his message.
I hope for everybody's sake that likes watching Tom Brady, I hope he is so pissed off that this was leaked, that he didn't get to do it his own way, that he comes back for one more year. Just like, hey, you know what? Always got to find another chip on my shoulder. This is it. This is how awesome that. What if Giselle was like, Tom, just play one more year, please. Just do it for them. Just to tell these guys that you get to end it. They don't get to end it for you.
Yeah, you go out on your own terms, not on fucking Schefter's.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. How sweet
that would be so cool if he was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I mean, Jack and the kids and everybody have missed me for the last 20-some years. I've had, I've committed my entire being to this thing. You've sacrificed a lot, but since these fucking cockroaches decided to break my story, I will play another year. Yeah, tell Gronk he ain't retiring. Tell the boys we're back for one more go. Let's go ahead and do this thing. And that's what BA's saying. BA's like, hey, you going to let these motherfuckers fucking tell you?
Yeah.
BA's trying to spin that narrative as well. I don't. If this is just like the accumulation of information situation where everybody kind of thought something was happening, but to go on the record and say, no, this is definitive. We talked to Ian Rappaport last hour. Like, that's a big step. Like, that's a huge ordeal. And he said he's reached out to people and said, hey, I have this news. I'm going to break it. I have to break it. And that's normally how it goes with insiders and the sources of the inside information. So I wonder if you reach out to Tom. If they reach out to Tom, I don't think so. It just feels like they had a good beat on what was going on. And once again, Darlington being attached is the reason why the whole world, us mostly, in the sports world was like, oh, this must be real because he's been in the camp.
And that's why it's so interesting that this came out, because you mentioned it with Ian. Like, this basically, I mean, you would assume that this kind of ends their relationship. And if he is close to Tom and he got the scoop on Tom going to Tampa Bay, like, everyone kind of knew. No one was going to report it. So you would assume that Darlington was going to get that information from Tom. Like, it just doesn't make sense that he kind of wouldn't let him just kind of do his own thing. Because Tom, I feel like this is kind of like all right, fuck you forever then.
But did Shefty do it first? Did Shefty do it and tag Darlington? And Darlington's like, hey, man, we weren't ready. That wasn't public yet.
He said per me and Jeff Darlington.
Okay.
So I assume Darlington's.
I'm sure Shefty reached out to Tom's camp, right, and said, I'm running with this, and did they just not respond?
Yeah, Tom Brady is retiring from football after 22 extraordinary seasons. Multiple sources tell Jeff Darlington and me, says Adam Schefter. More coming on ESPN.com. So as soon as me, personally, I don't want to talk for everybody, as soon as at Jeff Darlington's in there and it's Tom Brady, your initial thought is, oh, fuck, all right, that's gospel then.
Yeah.
Because that's what Darlington does. And then since then, it's all been Schefter's this, Schefter's that, Schefter's this. I wonder if Tom or somebody called Darlington and said, what the fuck? How's this all happen? Well, I told Schefter we couldn't release it until time. He did it without me even knowing. So maybe that's why Darlington has kind of snuck through the cracks on all of the, it got loud against the Insiders game.
Yeah,
it got very loud.
Still is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Luck was trending, too, because, Schefter doing what he did to Luck with his retirement.
In the fourth quarter of the preseason.
Exactly. And, he was taking flack big time all weekend.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, though. Schefter's still going to be able to break whatever the fuck Schefter wants to break.
True.
And he is a Michigan man, too. So, Brady and him do have that connection as well. So, maybe Brady actually gets Michigan to withdraw Schefter from ever being an alumni and going there because of this, because he's that pissed off. I could see it happening.
Honestly, I think, especially with how Tom is like kind of taking control of the narrative of who he is as a person.
Yeah.
Podcasts, documentaries, interviews. We're learning more about him now than we ever have. Him not being able to say thank you to his teammates or his former teammates and his goal and his whole thing, that probably is something that gets a little bit,
Oh yeah.
a little pissed off. His agent came out and said, we'll wait for Tom to say it, maybe. Is kind of what his agent said. I understand the advanced speculation about Tom's future. Without getting into the accuracy or inaccuracy of what's being reported, Tom will be the only person to express his plans with complete accuracy. He knows the realities of the football business and planning calendar as well as anybody, so that should be soon. He was in the lab doing a voiceover for Shannon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He steps out of that lab and all of a sudden Schefter and Darlington just reported that you're retiring. When? Just now. We're not going to be done with this video for what? Another day or so? What is even going on? Tell them to go fuck off. Get my dad on an interview. Yeah. Agent, you get out there. Well, it's happening though, isn't it? Yeah, but I'm doing it.
Yes.
I'm doing it. Then the man in the arena, which Rapport brought up, is on ESPN.
Yeah, that was interesting.
They dragged Wickersham out last night too on SportsCenter as well.
Seth?
Yep.
What'd he say?
He's saying the same thing. He said Brady found out there was more than football to make money this year, basically.
I had a lot of that too, a much smaller level.
Wait, you think that's why he's retiring, because he can make money off the field?
He said he found happiness in other places other than football for the first time in his life.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
I
he
get
also found out he can make money still. So I think
yeah. I mean, Tom's building an empire. Like, he already has one, but you could tell, like, everything he's into, like, he's setting up for the next 10, 15, 50 years, I feel like. So that's definitely true. But, yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see exactly what Tom says, what made him finally pull the trigger if he does retire.
Well, like Peyton, watching Peyton hustle right now, that guy's working harder now than he was whenever he was playing. He's on Saturday Night Live talking about Emily in Paris.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
Oh.
Absolutely crushed it.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Slaughtered
the best ever athlete to do SNL. By far.
I don't know any other athletes that have gone on there off the top of my head, but I concur completely. Absolutely.
Tom Brady, JJ, they were all great, but Peyton just killed it.
He kills it. Absolutely crushes it. He has good time. He has good delivery. He's funny. But not just that. He's got a whiskey he's selling. He had Monday Night Manning. He's got like 6 shows they're promoting from Omaha Productions. I mean, he is hustling.
He's gonna own a football team here soon, probably.
Well, that's what I think all of this is for. All of this is for to run up the numbers here. To get
what if he and Tom do it together?
Well, that's what I'm like. There's multiple teams now that are potentially going to be up for sale. They're friends. I think Peyton's trying to run up his value right now. Like, I honestly believe, why else would he be working as hard? He is working his ass off right now. Yeah. Now, I know he's a busy bee and a worker and he wants to do that, but once you hear his name's a part of 2 different groups that are going to maybe buy the Broncos, it all starts making sense. Like, oh, he's trying to run up the tab right now. He's trying to run up the money. You would think Tom is thinking similarly business-wise post-NFL. Plus, with how much fun he's probably having with Man in the Arena, Let's Go podcast, his family. Does he want to have to deal with the day-to-day of the NFL that is outside of just his control? All the other bullshit and decisions that happen. I'm not saying at Tampa Bay, but I'm saying as a whole, whether it's COVID protocols or everything else like that, you could see how somebody, even the greatest of all time, the best competitor of all time, maybe one of the most competitive humans to ever exist alongside the other humans that are in his world up there. It's just, you could see how you get to a point, I can make the money, there's more money to be made, I'll be able to hang out with my family, I won't have to deal with all the bullshit. I can easily see how he found fulfillment and happiness off the field, but he's not going to be happy with fucking Darlington for some time.
No.